Welcome back to DIY Willy, and on this episode, well, today we're putting some new KC lights on the Frontier. The truck already has some lights on there, but there's some, some aftermarket Amazon lights. They're not the best quality, but they have worked great for the past 3 or 4 years, however long they've been in the truck. So let's take a look at the new lights. So we got some KCs, or I was about to say KFC. We have some new KC lights right here, C3 LED, and should be a little better quality than the ones that are in there. Let's see if we can get this to stay put. There's the instructions. Come with a new sticker, I guess some advertisements for locations, different lights, and then of course the instructions. We don't need all that. I'm just kidding, we do need all that. And then the light itself. Oh, here's the wire harness. We won't be using all this harness because I have wiring in place already that's wired to this switch here, and I still want to use the same switch for now, so we won't cut this harness. I'll have to figure out what we're going to do with the harness once the lights are installed. Maybe I'll find a way to attach it and not cut the harness. Maybe use the harness, just roll the rest of it up underneath the grill or behind the bumper somewhere. We'll figure that out here. I know he wants to change his switch panels to something that's more attractive, because this is the switch for the fog lights, and then we have switches over here in this panel that control the overhead light bar, the light that's in the bumper, and then the lights that are on the hood. Well, it may be different order, but you get the point. We made this a while back too. You can see the hole's not quite perfect with it, but the lights work, and this is all wired to relays underneath the hood. So the only thing we have here is switchable grounds to the relays, and then the relays are wired to the battery for both activation and for the light itself, and then we just switch the ground. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at the other light. Well, first of all, let's take a look at the light we have. It's a really nice connection. Look at that. Nice connectors, nice light. And here is the light. I was hoping the mounting point was about the same as what I have. However, I may, because the bracket I made for the light mounts from the top, and I may have to open this up and see if I can rotate it to where the KC would still be on the bottom, because if I mount it how I have the bracket now, the KC is going to be on the top. So oh wait, maybe I can flip the bracket. Oh yeah, that's what I can do. I can flip the bracket. Okay, we'll give that a shot. Anyway, that's the light. Now let's take a look at the ones we have. Now here's the light that we have installed. You can kind of see the bracket back there, and the pigtail you can see on the bottom is the factory wire harness. We didn't want to tap into that. We ran our own. But yeah, there's the bracket I made. Mounts to the bumper, 2 locations. It supports the light at the top. You see that? Well, let's take a look at the other side. Maybe it's more clear. Oh yeah, this is better. You can see the bracket with the light attached, and how I made it. So let's go ahead and get this speaker off for the CB and get the light out. Okay, now that we have the CB speaker out of the way, you can get a good shot of the bracket. I need to get up here and take the top bolt off and get the light out. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good shot of it. You can see it really good right there, how we made the little bracket. Let me get the light out. Okay, there's a shot of the bracket where it mounts to the bottom on an existing tab. I think that's for the fog lights. Then it mounts to the existing tab on the bumper on the top, and it's slotted for light adjustment, and it just bends back, comes down and bends to that tab on the bottom. I made these brackets about 3 years ago, and they're really sturdy and they hold the lights perfectly. So as I mentioned before, the mounting bracket was on the bottom of the light. It was on this side, and when I mount it, that would have made the KC upside down on the top. So what I did was flip the bracket around, so now the bracket is on the top of the light and it'll mount properly in the hole. To do so, I tried to just flip it up, loosen it up with the provided Allen wrench, loosen it up and flip the bracket over and pull the wire through, but the plug on the wire did not fit through the bracket as it came around. I couldn't find any way. So the best way was to go ahead and take the 2 screws on the sides, take them completely out, remove the bracket, put the wire on the other side, put the bracket in, and then bring it over. Now the screws have, I don't know if you can see it, but they're like captured nuts in there. Now they will fall out if you were to tip it upside down, but they're like captured nuts, so they won't turn when you're turning the screw. And you just put it in there like so and tighten it up, just like that. So that enabled me to get the bracket on the top. Now I may have to loosen those up to align the light after it's installed in the truck, but now it'll mount from the top and everything will be fine, just as I want it. All right, let's get it in the truck. Well, the light's installed. It looks really good in there. It looks a lot better than the old one. It's all faded and the lens is kind of cloudy, you know. I see though the bracket it's basically the same bracket, but the one there is reversed. So if I flip it around, what I mean by that is this side is angled and this side is flat. So the way that the KC light is installed, the angled side is on this side. So with that all the way up, it'll make the light kind of point down. With the bracket flipped this way, where the flat side is towards the light, it will allow the light to have more adjustment, more up in position. Depends on how you want it. Since my son had it this way, I'll see how he likes it. We'll see how it looks at night, and we may change it if need be. So coming around inside, see if we get some more light on the subject. There we go. You can see the lights installed. I did do some modifications to the bracket, but it all still works. It's getting dark outside now. As you can see, it's getting dark. So I think I'm going to end it tonight, right here tonight, with the one light install, and pick it up again tomorrow, where I can finish the install on the driver's side, and we'll do the wiring. This is the wiring we have coming from the switch, so I've got to somehow make those 2 wires, the positive and the negative, trigger the other wire harness with the other lights. All right, we'll get on that tomorrow. Goodbye for now. Here we are back out here with the Frontier and those KC light installs. Day 2 of the install. It got too dark last night to finish it off, and well, I needed some ideas about the wire harness anyway. So what I did, if you remember, I was talking about clipping the wires, and that's exactly what I did. I just cut it right after the fuse, or right before the fuse, depends on how you want to look at it. And yeah, I just cut it right there, right before the fuse. And there, I got negative and positive. The truck is already wired for the lights, and it's got relays and fuses in place already. So this is really all the part of the harness I needed that connects to the lights. All right, let's get on that. All right, so I did get the driver's side light in last night before I packed it up. And well, here's the harness. We like the connectors. You know, they're good watertight connector. This is the wiring for the old lights. I'm gonna pull that out. This is for the speaker that was on this side. So all I'm gonna do is plug these in and run the wires to the other side, and the existing wires for the lighting, the other end of this, is on the passenger side. And I'm just gonna tie that into this on the other side. Of course, there's colors, red and black, just like that on the other side. So yeah, let me plug that in. little bit of saliva goes a long way. There, clipped in place, and I'm just gonna pull the wire to the other side, and we'll tie them up in out of the way. But now I'll just set it there. Like so, before I just had the wires ran inside here. They were like tucked up in here like this, you know. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and run them a little bit higher and take the skid plate off, so to get them up inside above the skid plate this time. So the skid plate, they're 10 millimeters on the Frontier, and pretty easy to do. I also remove the skid plate every time we change the oil. It just makes it easier, even though there is an access plate. I don't like working through the access plate, so I just take this off. And you'll notice we've taken the lower portion of the bumper off anyway to get a little more ground clearance in the front. Once you get that done, the back ones, you get the 4 across the front, the back 2 are slotted. You don't have to take them all the way out, but it's just easier to. Just slide it forward like that, and there we go. So this will give me a lot better way to get the wires up out of the way, you know, so they're above the skid plate this time. It'll just look nicer. That way you don't see the wires. Try to make it as clean to install as possible. I'll get a couple zip ties. Get a shot in there. I'm just gonna run the wires and I'll zip tie them to these brackets right here, just like that, so they stay there in place. Or I could even zip tie up to this harness. That's part of the other light anyway. Yeah, I'll zip tie them up there so they're out of the way. Be above the skid plate this time. So here's those wires I was talking about. These are the wires that come down from the relay and the grounds. So I've got them here. I'm just gonna cut these crimp connectors off, and I'll reuse these wires. I'm not gonna run all the way new wires to the switch, okay? So I know in my other videos people are like, oh, you forgot the most important part, and I'm assuming they're talking about the wiring. So let me get these cut, and we'll make the connections for the new wires. All right, so to put these wires together, I'm going to use these solder seal wire connectors. You've seen me use these in the past. I really like these rather than just simple butt connectors. They work well, they hold up. It makes a solder seal or a solder joint, and the little red things or colored things on the end are, when they melt, they seal through the wire, preventing moisture from getting inside. So I really like using these. And when you install them, I kind of like to leave the wire strands kind of loose. Don't want to tighten them up too much so that the solder has a chance to kind of flow through the wires. It's really simple. I've got my Harbor Freight heat gun here. It always does the trick to seal them right up. And get on that right now. Okay, so what I've done the ground already, and you can kind of see how I have the positive red wire and yellow wire put together. Like I said, the strands are kind of loose when you push them in, and push the finer strands first, which would be this side. Push the finer strands in, and then the more coarse strands of the wire from the yellow wire can go inside, and they'll mesh together in there. And all you got to do is heat them up. It's always a good idea to kind of heat them when they're level, because you want the solder to kind of go through the whole wires. I'll show you right now. And the solder's starting to melt. Now it's going to be hot, so you don't want to just rush in and touch it. But let them cool. I've got some heat shrink up here just to make things look a little neater, resting, waiting to be installed. That completes the connection to the wires, and they're soldered and with the heat shrink. So let's bring this down over this just to make it look a little nicer. And oh, I hear the sirens out there. Somebody's not having a good day. Even though those are all sealed,
I just put a little heat shrink like that. Makes them look a little nicer. So that looks a little nicer right there. And I can even finish it up with a little bit of tape just to seal the whole thing. But yeah, that's the connections made. So technically now I can turn the lights on and they should work. Okay, the lights are in. Cabling is all zip tied nice and tight so it won't rattle or move around. Comes around over here by the frame, goes up here, it's zip tied to that tab, runs along, zip tied to that tab, then comes over and is kind of bunched up right there and zip tied to the frame, and then again to the bracket made for the light. So they're on, they work, they're all cleaned up. I'm just gonna put the skid plate back together here, so this covers this up, and I'll show you the wiring on the inside. Okay, so all the wires for the front lights come up through here. It's kind of hard to see, there's a mess of wires and a lot of wires behind the battery. Anyway, there is a, let me see, get some light. There is a relay junction right there. I think there's 3 or 4 relays right here. Inside, kind of hard to see. Let's see. Yeah, they're really hard to see in there. But there's relays on a panel mounted to the truck that control all the exterior lighting on the truck, including the ones on the hood and the roof bar. So this relay I put in right there, I believe is for the fog lights that we just put in. And of course we got the different fuses for the amps and stuff. But yeah, all the lights run through relays, and they're triggered through negative grounds on the switches. So like I said, there's some relays down there on a custom bracket. There's a relay over here, and then inside this fuse box I installed another fuse block that allows me to have different fuses for the different lights. And I think one of these controls another accessory inside the USB port that I installed inside. So yeah, a little loose. That's the wiring. All the wires run behind over here, come up here into groups of wires and run across the truck, and then go in underneath the dash to the various switches, the panels I showed you earlier. So yeah, that's the install. Let's turn them on, see how they look. Oh yeah, they look good. They look good in there. They work perfectly. I'll have to, when it's nighttime, I'll have to aim them a little bit better. But they're both on. Nice. Alright, so it's been a couple weeks since we put the new KC lights in. This will all be on the same video, however, of the install. And I ordered these bezels, these trim bezels. Kind of gives it a much finished look, I think. Installing, they just snap into place. I did have to modify the bracket inside that holds the light to move the light back a little bit for the bezel. I think it looks pretty good. And let me show you the other side. So here's a shot of the other side without the bezel, and you can see it's open all the way around, and doesn't have quite the finished look that I'm looking for. So here's the bezels that I ordered off Amazon. Give a part number right there. This is the right side, NISSAN Frontier 05 to 16 fog light bezel finish ring, I think they call it, right hand side. So they fit in there like that, all like this. So yeah, let me show you what it took to get to that. All right, so taking the bezel out of its wrapping here, plastic shipping container. There we go, there's a good look at it. Part number. Take the sticker off, put it on the BFT. Now you see the light has to move back so the bezel will snap in, and that's where I had to modify the bracket that holds it because there's not enough room to move it back inside. So I'll loosen the light up, see if I can move it back enough to snap the bezel in. If not, I'll have to take the bracket out and then cut it a little bit more so that the light slides back further and can still mount in. Ooh, this one's got a lot of adjustment. Let's see if that's enough. Wow. You know, it does have enough adjustment. Look at that. Oh, that was way easier than the other side. The other side I was notching all kinds of stuff. Let me just move the light up there like that and tighten it up. Huh. That's no fun. The other side was much harder to do. I should have filmed this side first to figure out what I was going to do, and then film that side to actually show what I had to do. That was just way too easy. Yeah, I like it. Gives it a much more finished look. Look at that. Really nice. Might actually look better than the other side. Yeah, that looks really nice. I don't know if you can really see it all that well. Kind of shadows out in the black, but it gives it a much more finished look. You're not just seeing all inside. You know, it's not perfect because these lights are square. You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. But I mean, overall, it looks way better. There's a little slight difference in the brackets, and you can see that in the fit up. You know, that it's just a hair different on each side. You know, this one fits so much better. But anyway, they're in. They look good, and yeah, I like it. So I'll see if I can fix this one a little bit more. If I can move the light over, and I can't really move it down, but I might be able to move it over. So if you like the install of those KC lights, please subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up, you know, a like. Leave a comment about the lights if you have any questions, and well, come back to DIY Willy. So I'll see you next time.